Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. I hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video on the markets. We're going to do a full update, or at least I'll try to give you a full update on the current situation in the crypto market, what's going on, what do you need to watch in terms of altcoins. We'll focus on XRP as well, and Bitcoin, of course, but also all the fundamentals influencing the markets. So there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, there's a lot going on. So far today has been relatively bearish, especially over the last couple of hours. We had a lot of bearish pressure here with the futures pre-market for the S&P 500 for US equities going down lower as well. That has just opened, as you can see, about 25 minutes ago, probably a little bit longer when you're watching this video. So far, I mean, one of the things we talked about this morning was obviously the gap that we had to the upside, which usually gets filled. So that would be positive for crypto. So far, there's not a lot of effort going into filling that. So that's a bit of a bearish start. Now, I don't necessarily mind a bearish start of the US session. Very often, it actually turns into some sort of a recovery later. But as long as we do not see any sign of life, there's nothing we can do with this. All right. So, I mean, it's not certain, or at least I don't see any strength coming into Bitcoin right now. The Coinbase Bitcoin price, as you can see over the course of this afternoon, mainly has been at a massive discount as well. So that's we're not really showing, or we're not really seeing strength coming into the crypto market specifically. Someone commented on the XRP video this morning. I think that crypto is actually holding on relatively well compared to stocks. And that's definitely true. I mean, the S&P 500 has made a lower low right here, while Bitcoin is still holding on fine. So that is that's definitely a positive thing to talk about, but but at this point of time, short term, that doesn't really matter that much. All right. So but no, I mean, first let's talk about the fundamentals briefly. I wanted to say two things about the tariffs. First of all, and I said that in the Bitcoin video this morning as well. It is now you can see me better. It is impossible to predict what these tariffs will do. A huge amount of tariffs were announced. And there's just too many factors at play to say what this means for the US economy, which obviously matters most when we're talking about the crypto markets, since they are very correlated to what US equities do, and US equities are to a certain extent at least very correlated to economic data. So that's what we'll see over the next couple of months. All right. The economic data we had so far was pretty good. Initial jobless claims mixed, I'd say, but the S&P Global Services PMI was higher than expected. And as expected, the composite. So that's pretty good. But like I said, I mean, the first thing is that we do not know. And second of all, I mean, one thing that could happen is that if other countries start to retaliate against these tariffs, that is going to increase uncertainty, and that is going to push global equities basically down, and that's bearish for the crypto markets as well. So that's what I think you need to know about the tariffs. I mean, what you see right now, like I said, the S&P 500, at some point of time, this is going to bounce, but at this point of time, I don't see any indication of that. It actually looks more likely that we're going to drop down lower, which is actually a possibility. I mean, if you go back in time, for example, to the start of January, we actually had some gaps to the downsides, and it took a very long time before they got filled, right? So that we have this gap to the upside doesn't necessarily mean that has to get filled very, very quickly. And then outside of that, what I don't like is that the VIX is very high, the volatility index. And if we look at some crypto specific fundamentals, the total 3 definitely seems to be dropping down into the lows we actually made the 11th of March. So overall, the fundamentals right now are not great. All right. And that's what you need to know. Personally, I'm still risk off. I am buying nothing. I'm trading nothing. And that could certainly change over the course of today if we actually see some activity, or if we see some bullish indications. But right now, we do not have those. All right. So even though you should be prepared for those coming into the markets, when I make this video, I have to tell you my thoughts on the current situation. And the current situation, especially looking at all those data points, is not great. Now, what that means for Bitcoin, look, Bitcoin, as we said earlier this morning, has dropped back down into this range right here between, let's say, 84,600 and 81,000. I will make moves on this. Or at least, well, look, right now we're in the middle of that range. I would wait before doing anything until we have actually reached one of the outer edges, all right? So, for example, one trade setup I have in mind is if we actually do get some more bearish pressure, we push down below this level here at 80,500. And if we can actually reclaim that, that looks like a good long setup. For example, but ultimately we're just waiting for either 84,500 or let's keep it simple, 81,000 to break. And at this point of time, given the fundamentals, it looks more likely that Bitcoin will drop down to the bottom of that range. And then look, we're most likely going to drop down below that. If it's with low volume, I think it's more likely we will reclaim back into the range. If we see a drop with a lot of volume, all right, and we actually close below 81,000, 80,000, we're most likely going to revisit the lows right here at 78, possibly even lower into the low 70s. But like I said, that very much depends on what the S&P 500 does, and what the S&P 500 does really depends on the fundamentals. So if this will start to fill the gap, Bitcoin could just as well just bounce from here to the upsides of the range right here at 84,500. But like I said, during times like these, you should be prepared for both scenarios, right? So the 4 different scenarios are either a real breakout here, so a break with volume, a bullish continuation, or a fake breakout here, so a breakout with low volume and a reclaim back into the range. And then to the downside, it's either a breakdown with a lot of volume and a continuation down, or it's a breakdown with not a lot of volume and a reclaim. Those are the 4 scenarios. Given the current situation, you should be prepared for all of those, all right? I will keep you updated. Once one of these 2 looks most likely, I'll let you know. And at this point of time, I would argue that it looks most likely that we'll see something like this. So keep that in mind, but you should be prepared for all of them. Now, talking about XRP, something similar is going on. I mean, XRP is obviously at its last support right here between 2 and 1.95. I still do think that that's going to hold, but I would only buy this support level if we actually again see one of those fake outs reclaim with volume and then something like this. Then I will buy XRP. I will not put any limit orders there. What more did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, altcoins. So some of my favorite altcoins right now, even though I'm not trading altcoins, they're still too weak. I still think SUI is very interesting. As you can see, it's actually relatively strong against the markets. I still think XRP at these price levels is actually quite interesting. It's just a little bit tricky to trade. EOS, still very strong, definitely manipulated, but I mean, it's worth it if you want some movement. And that's basically it. I mean, this morning we had Super Rare do some stuff, but that was heavily manipulated. So not really worth it to talk too much about that right now. But that is what I think you need to know regarding the markets now. All right. So if you do have any questions, anything, let me know down in the comments. But for now, I hope to see you on my Telegram in the Discord groups. There we can discuss my analysis and just in general the markets further. But for now, have a great Thursday. Take care and bye.